The moment the Empress's gaze turned icy, the diamond pendant around her neck blazed with intense heat. Elisia gasped sharply. Yes. The necklace transformed into a searing hot shackle. Startled, Elisia lunged to tear it off. But the rapidly intensifying heat seared her skin, making it impossible to even touch. Scorching. Elisia gasped, unable to utter another sound. Liz! Franz cried, sitting beside her, his face deathly pale. Franz lunged to wrest the necklace away. Yet the closer his hand drew, the pendant flared with a crimson light, radiating even more scorching heat. Why is this? Franz muttered, bewildered, staring at the diamond necklace fused to Elisia's throat. The mesh-like necklace encircled her slender neck, dangling below her collarbone. Large diamonds were set at every intersection of the grid. Normally, these diamonds would have sparkled with brilliant light, but now they burned a deep, bloody red. Like iron heated in a forge. Ah! Elisia winced in pain. Born with fire mana, she was accustomed to warmth. It rarely felt as hot as an ordinary flame. Yet, in a strange twist, the heat radiating from this necklace was agonizingly unbearable. It was as if a flame was threading through the necklace into her entire body, surging through her veins. If this heat persisted, her whole body might burn. Fear gripped her. Elisia locked eyes with Franz, tears streaking her cheeks. She struggled to move her lips. NZ. Franz desperately tried to rip the necklace free. But whenever his fingers brushed the pendant, it emitted a crackling snap and glowed hotter still. Stop. Elisia shuddered and twisted away from Franz. It was an instinctive recoil to avoid further torment. She collapsed onto the reception room floor, clutching her neck in agony. Her forehead slick with sweat. Empress, why? Thank you very much, wife of the second prince. The Empress sat utterly unmoved, speaking calmly. She lifted the teacup to her lips and tasted it. Instead, she closed her eyes to savor the tea's fragrance. Franz shouted, alarmed by her serenity. Stop this at once. What are you talking about? Cease this act immediately. The Empress set down the teacup and smiled contentedly. Indeed, the second prince's wife is your weakness. She is exceedingly useful, second princess. I thought I would merely use her to provoke Glenna and then discard her. Elisia stared at the Empress with a fiery glare, as if trapped in hell. Seeing the Empress's smile, she thought swiftly. First, she needed to understand why the pendant behaved this way. Only then could she escape this torment. Mana? Was it mana? The Empress wielded fire mana. Thus, the pendant's sudden ignition was likely a result of mana's influence. When mana is infused into an object, powerful mana can be channeled through it. This was a technique commonly employed by knights. For loading mana into a sword or bow makes striking the enemy far more effective. In other words, this was a killing spell. Such tools were rarely used in daily life. Because burning someone alive or freezing them with mana was deemed excessively cruel. How to counteract it? Amidst the excruciating pain, Elisia desperately sought a way to nullify the mana loaded into the pendant. To negate mana bound to an object, one must inject mana of the opposing property. In this case, water mana would be most effective. Or perhaps ice mana. Liz. Franz appeared to have reached the same conclusion as Elisia. He approached her and slowly extended his hand. His hand glowed with a blue light, saturated with ice mana. Too bad, this won't work. The Empress frowned as she watched Franz's actions. She spoke with regret, yet her face brimmed with joy. Franz ignored her and poured ice mana into the pendant. When the blue light touched the pendant, the crimson light wavered. He continued injecting mana with a desperate expression. Elisia cradled in his arms, breathing harshly. Her body was already drenched in sweat. Her body burned with heat. She felt as if her brain were boiling. As if she had been cast alive into hell. Ah. Just a little more. Franz gritted his teeth and redoubled his mana. Yet beyond a faint flicker of the red light, nothing changed. The pain would ease slightly, then return with renewed fury, repeating the cycle. I will die. Elisia's eyelids twitched. A single tear traced the corner of her eye. Even though she had braced herself for death, the unexpected anguish was excruciating. As her tears welled, Franz gritted his teeth fervently. A desperate plea escaped his lips. Don't die, Liz. Elisia forced her swollen eyes open with difficulty. His voice, which she had heard faintly in her previous life, now rang clear and strong. You'll be fine. Just bear with me a little longer. Please. Franz sank into indescribable despair. Once again, Elisia stood on death's doorstep because of him. In this life, he had sworn to protect her. He was prepared to sacrifice his life for this. He believed that saving Elisia with his life would be a small price to pay. He was determined to save her. Determined to grant her a happy life in this life. But Franz's design was in vain. Even in this life, Elisia teetered on the brink of death due to him. As if fate mocked him. A little more. He pressed on with mana infusion. But the ice-blue mana shattered helplessly against the Empress's mana. Franz's mana had been greatly weakened by the effects of reversion. This was why neutralization failed. The opponent who must be defeated was the Empress. The Empress's mana was formidable. Even Aaron could not approach her mana. It was said that her mana was shielded by a powerful barrier, imperceptible even to the senses. Glenna had only laid waste to the palace after losing control, but the Empress could easily raise a palace without losing control in the slightest. This was her nature, so no one objected when she became regent after the Emperor's collapse. Because she was better suited for the role than anyone else. Most appropriate, yes. The sound of grinding teeth came from Franz's mouth. From the outset, he had aimed at the wrong target. He should have eliminated the Empress, not Crichton. He had not noticed this due to the lack of evidence in his previous life. I was lax. Franz blamed himself for pouring out his money. Oozing. Elisia called to him, gathering her scattered consciousness. She lifted her hand with difficulty toward him. It was as if she were telling him to stop, it was over. No. Franz frowned at her pitiful appearance. He felt as if his heart were being torn apart by guilt and helplessness. Would the past repeat itself like this? Must he watch Elisia die again, powerless to stop the black hand reaching for her? Impossible. Franz trembled in despair and grief akin to what he had felt in his previous life. He stared at the Empress, who quietly stroked her teacup. What do you want from me? Franz addressed her, his eyes bloodshot. The Empress tilted her head and asked him, Are you going to give me what I want? Whatever it is? Cancel the mana of the necklace now. Then I will give you everything. Oh, really? The Empress smiled contentedly at Franz's answer. She pointed her elegant hand at Elisia. Suddenly, Elisia drew in a violent breath. The sensation of suffocation vanished, as if she had been cast into a hot desert and could finally breathe. Ha, ha. Elisia looked at Franz with a more relaxed expression. The mana had not been fully drawn out, so it still radiated heat, but not enough to rob her of consciousness as before. She swallowed. She had something she needed to tell Franz immediately. But her mouth was so dry that her voice failed to emerge. Farah, when she uttered a word, her chest convulsed violently. She felt as if her lungs were constricting. Her body refused to obey her. Her body resembled iron heated by fire. Franz cupped her cheeks, his expression like that of a man about to weep. I'm sorry, Liz. How very impressive. When Elisia moved her lips again, the Empress's sarcasm pierced the two of them. Franz turned to her and said, "Withdraw all the mana. Now. I will do it when you fulfill my request." "Say it." "I will answer it immediately." Franz answered without hesitation. Then, at last, the Empress rose from the sofa. She approached Franz and Elisia and crossed her arms. Then she said, her smile terrifying, "Prince Franz, hand over the mana stone."